You drop your phone and someone steals it while you're not looking. Here's what to do to get it back. When you realize you don't have your phone, try calling your own number. But no one answers. Using a friend's phone, log into Find My iPhone or Find My Android and track the phone's location. If it's nearby, try to get it back. If it's in an unknown or dangerous location, call the police. From the app itself, lock your phone to prevent the thief from accessing your information. Also, report the theft to your phone service provider and ask them to suspend your line to prevent fraud and scams. When you get a new phone, change your most important passwords, enable two-step verification, and subscribe to Big Dan Baby.
A truck driver pulled over to take a piss when he suddenly heard strange noises coming from the brush. The driver got scared, got back into the truck, and sped off. But an hour later, his supervisor called him and asked him to get the person out of the passenger seat. But there was no one sitting there. Then the call cut off and he continued on his way. When he arrived at his destination, his supervisor had him review the footage, which clearly showed a horrific woman sitting next to the driver. When the young boy walked into the classroom, his classmates took a step back as they looked at the scars covering his face. You see, when he was just 17 months old, a fire destroyed his home and left him with burns over 84% of his body. But on his first day of school, a girl sat right next to him and refused to leave his side. 13 years later, she was still by his side when they were crowned king and queen of the school dance.
If you're in a car that's about to fall off a huge cliff, the smartest thing to do is to stay completely motionless. If the car stabilizes, slowly unbuckle your seatbelt without making any sudden movements. Many people would try to open the driver's door to escape, but this would most likely cause the car to lose balance and fall. Instead, try rolling down the windows and gradually distributing your weight toward the back of the car. Once you've reached a stable position, crawl out of the car slowly.
A kitten was abandoned for being too loving. When he was a newborn, his first owner abandoned him. However, when the founder of a shelter rescued him, she saw how loving he was and put him up for adoption. But a year later, his owner returned him, saying he was too affectionate and she couldn't stand it. The cat became so sad that he didn't eat for a few days. But when his story went viral, many people wanted to adopt him, and when a couple cried with joy upon meeting him, it was clear they were the right ones.
A student named George arrived late to his statistics class. He saw 2 math problems on the board and copied them into his notebook, thinking they were the homework. When he started working on them, he realized they were much harder than he expected. It took George so long that he begged the professor to accept his late homework. George thought he was going to fail the class. But that night, his professor showed up at his house holding the homework and said, "We have to publish this as soon as possible." It turned out that the problems George had copied were 2 legendary statistics problems that nobody in history had ever solved. Years later, George became a programming genius.
A boy went out into the backyard of his house and saw his younger brother floating face down in the pool. So he immediately ran over to him and pulled him out of the water, but he wasn't breathing. Then he remembered a scene where The Rock saved someone by performing chest compressions, and after pressing on his brother's chest for half a minute, he started breathing again. But when The Rock heard this story, he took the boy to the set of his new movie and told him, "I may play and act as a hero in the movies, but you're the real-life hero."
A thief broke into a supermarket to steal in 2008, and while escaping, he was surprised to see a giant lollipop. The man thought it was real, but after licking it, he realized it was actually fake. However, his tongue had left behind a clue for the police because, just like fingerprints, every person's tongue has a unique pattern. So investigators used the tongue print left on the lollipop to identify the thief, and a few days later, the police arrested him and sent him to jail. If you find yourself in a room with walls closing in very slowly, most people would immediately begin to panic, but that will only waste your time and energy. Instead, look for a mechanism or button that might stop the walls. If you can't find one, use a strong object to wedge between where the walls are moving with the objective of blocking the movement. If that doesn't work, try to climb quickly and look for a gap above the walls where you can escape the deadly force. If you lie while using a lie detector, the machine will detect both your stress and anxiety, causing a big spike in the graph of the test. But if you place a thumbtack in your shoe before entering the test, you can use it so that you cause the spikes in stress and anxiety, because the pain you feel when stepping on the thumbtack can confuse your brain's responses. And when you tell a lie during the test, the graphs won't detect any spike and it will look like you're telling the complete truth. If you're an idiot and keep all your batteries in the same drawer, separate them right now. If a battery breaks, it will create a bomb and your house will explode. If there's a blackout in your city and the power goes out, don't leave your house. Thieves will take advantage of the chaos to steal and murder. If you're in a pool and the water tastes like metal, get out of there as soon as possible. A wire has caused a short circuit and you could be electrocuted. If you run out of gas in the middle of nowhere and have no signal, build a fire with your tires. The smoke will be visible for thousands of kilometers, and the firefighters spiders will come. If I were a little mouse, this is what I would do to survive. First, I'd have to stay alert about cats in the area. If I let my guard down, I'd be easy prey. I'd stay away from restaurants and factories since there's always rat poison there. I'd look for a park where people throw away trash so I could eat. There, I'd find some cinnamon and rub it on my body. If a cat catches me, the cinnamon would act like pepper spray. I'd teach this technique to the other rats so they could keep the cats away. The mouse population could thrive, and there would be about 20 mice per person on Earth. I'd be the leader of the mice, and in just a few weeks, we'd take over the world. Your homeless friend's parents have invited you over for dinner. Do this so you don't look ridiculous. Leave your iPhone at home and wear old clothes. When you get underneath the bridge, wave to him with your hand even if he looks disgusting, and don't ask how many days have passed since he took a shower. And be careful, don't touch his things without permission. Even if it's all junk, the family will notice if something's missing and they'll get angry. At dinner, eat everything as quickly as possible. If you take too long, lots of flies will swarm your food and contaminate it. Also, if you need to use the bathroom, don't ask. Just grab an empty bottle and run to a corner. Finally, never go out after midnight. There is a strong possibility that there is broken glass or syringes on the ground that you won't see, and you'll prick your feet. If you shoot a hard bullet at a suit of ancient medieval armor, most people think it could completely stop the strong impact. But armor, similar to chainmail, was designed to block major sword slash, and steel armor was even better at slowing down big blunt hits by distributing the force of the impact over a large area, reducing the blow. But these materials were not very good at stopping arrows, which had more than enough force to break through the medieval armor. So a bullet would have no problem going straight through it.
In 2018, a dog licked a small cut on its owner's arm, and just a few hours later, she was rushed to the hospital with very serious symptoms. Doctors discovered that a dangerous bacterium commonly found in dog saliva had entered her body through the wound. The infection spread rapidly throughout her entire body, causing her arms and legs to turn an extremely dark color as the tissue slowly began to die. The doctors had no other choice, so they amputated her limbs to stop the infection and save her life. If you see footprints at the entrance to your house, pick up a rock before going inside. A killer could be waiting inside to kill you. If you think a thief is targeting you, start talking to a random person as if they were your friend. Criminals only target you when you are alone. If you are going to a job interview, do not wear expensive designer clothes. They may think you already have plenty of money and decide not to hire you. If you see lots of graffiti painted in the same color, get out of there as soon as possible. You may have entered into territory controlled by a criminal gang. If you are going on a Tinder date, bring a friend who can stay hidden. They could turn out to be kidnappers. And if you do not come back, your friend can call the police. In 2001, a 9-year-old girl named Asha grabbed her backpack and left her home during a storm. It was so early in the morning that the sun had not come up yet. A passing driver spotted her walking alone down the road. The driver turned around, but as he got closer, Asha ran away and disappeared into the woods. By sunrise, Asha was gone, and several of her belongings were later found near a small shed. After long searches and countless leads, investigators found no trace of Asha. A year later, her backpack was discovered at a construction site, wrapped inside a plastic bag, but it did not provide any clues that could solve the mystery. To this day, nobody knows why she left home or where she was going, and her disappearance remains one of the most mysterious unsolved cases in the world. A woman climbed a giant tree to protect it from a group of loggers who planned to cut it down. At first, many people thought she would come down after just a few days, but weeks turned into months, and the woman refused to leave. She lived on 2 small platforms and used ropes to pull up food and supplies. Despite the harsh weather and even threats from the loggers, she continued living in the tree. Finally, after 738 days, the loggers agreed to protect the tree and the surrounding forest, and at last, the woman was able to come down. If you fall into a trash compactor, many people would panic immediately. However, that will only cause you to lose valuable time. Instead, look for the emergency button or a lever on the wall. If you can't find either, try to stay away from the floor, where the pressure is stronger. Lean against a corner or a sturdy structure to avoid getting trapped. Use any rigid object, such as a clothes dryer, to create space between the plates and delay the closure. And if you see a hatch or opening at the top, try to climb out before the machine completes its cycle. A man was buried in a grave with a glass window placed directly above his face. For years, people could walk up and look through the window to see the man's face nearly 2 meters underground. He did this because he had a terrifying fear of being buried alive. He also built a bell connected to a rope so he could alert people if he was somehow still alive. But over time, dirt and moisture slowly began covering the glass. Eventually, they hid both the man and his fears forever. If you come across a lot of stray cats, don't even think about feeding them. All the stray cats will think you have endless food and follow you all the way home to stay and live with you. If your front door is open and and you notice some scratches around the lock, lock the door and call the police immediately. A group of burglars could be trapped somewhere inside your house. If your car will not start, ask a friend to help push it. If the wheels are already moving, the engine may be able to start. If you never wash your hair, go to the barbershop and cut it right now. Your hair has become the perfect place for lice to live and spread. If you are starving, look for trees with soft and moist leaves. If you suck on them, you'll gain some energy and you won't die.